now we're going to review Nightfall, a game about the fight between werewolves and vampires.
Before you might run screaming, the vampires in this game definitely do not sparkle, or it's a more mean and rough thing. And by the way, this box here is one of the preview boxes that AEG sent out. The actual Nightfall game is in a bigger box than this and comes with some nicer things.
Good thing.
Probably, I think it's along the lines of the Thunderstone box from the same company. But hey, it's a deck building game. Do we need more of those?
Of course.
I think so. And this one that lets you attack each other, which pleases Sam more so.
And the theme actually works out pretty well. It comes away with the feeling of the movies that came out recently. Well, not recently, a few years ago, where the vampires were fighting with the werewolves. Can't remember them now, but I'll remember later.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. I'll look it up. Nightfall is a deck building game. At the beginning of each game, players have a pre-constructed deck that includes 12 different cards. These cards are terrible cards in retrospect compared with the rest of the game. I guess they're not terrible cards, but they're not nearly as good as cards that players are going to be able to buy. You're going to be taking this deck and you'll be shuffling it and you'll be fighting the other players with this deck, but you'll also, over the course of the game, be getting more cards to add to your deck so that it's more powerful. Now, at the beginning of the game, players are handed some cards. Notice they have the big word draft on them. You're going to be using these cards for several things. You'll get some cards, and you're going to choose one of those cards and keep it for yourself. And this is going to be a pile of cards that only you are going to be able to buy. In fact, you're going to have two of these piles of cards, archives they're called, that only you can buy from. And then there will be, I don't remember, maybe 8 more in the middle.
Yeah, there are 8. 4.
You get to pick one, and some other people will add some to the middle. And so there will be 8 decks that you'll be able to pick from in the middle, and 2 decks that you can pick from yourself. Now, as the game progresses, there are 2 different kinds of cards in this game. There are cards like this one that have a gray background here with red writing on it. And these are cards that are just special abilities. Like this one says, inflict 3 damage on target player. So if I play this card, I'm doing 3 damage to somebody else. You are directly attacking another player here, and every time they take damage, that player is going to put wound cards in their deck. Now, wound cards do one of 2 things. They're going to clog your deck up, and also, at the end of the game, whoever has the fewest wound cards is the winner. The other kind of thing that you'll have in your deck are you're going to have characters. Now, characters have a black background and with red writing on them, and each character has a couple things. They have an attack value up here, and they have hit points, which you'll notice this person has 3 hit points. If they get wounded, you'll turn them sideways to show how many wounds they've gotten, and they might also have special abilities. So at the beginning of your turn, all the characters that you have in front of you must attack other players. And I'm just going to use the word tap. I know that's not the word in this game, but rotate. And I just, use them to show that I'm attacking other players with each one of these characters. The other players must defend with their creatures. If they don't have any, they're going to take the damage directly from wounds. After you're done attacking, all the cards that you attacked with go into your discard pile. So you're never going to have a huge build-up army in front of you. In fact, the starting cards, when you're done attacking with them, they're removed from the game. So you better get more cards in your hand. After you attack, then you're allowed to play cards down. And this is a really interesting part of the game. Whenever you play a card down in front of you from your hand, you're going to look in the upper left-hand corner. And you notice there it shows a big purple ball, or I guess it's a moon. Big purple moon with a red moon and a yellow moon. That means this is a purple card and can be followed by a red card. So if I had a red card, for example, I could follow it. Now I can play a green or a silver. So I could play a green card right after that. And you can see how you can chain a bunch of cards together. But more interesting than that is once I'm done playing all the cards that I want to or can play, the person to my left can follow my chain. And then the person to their left can follow the chain. And we can keep going. Once everyone has played all the cards down in this big long chain, they are resolved in reverse order. Characters just go in front of the person. Special abilities will attack other people. You can do damage to other characters and so on and so forth. And then you come back. When you're finished playing your chain and doing whatever you do, then you're allowed to buy cards. Remember, you can buy cards from your own decks or you can buy cards from the decks in the middle. When you buy a card, the cost is written on that card in a yellow number. You always have 2 influence to spend on your turn, but some cards give you more, and in fact, you are allowed to discard cards from your hand to get more influence. I think that's a great feature of this game, by the way. I really like the fact that if you have nothing that you can buy, you can discard cards to get more. It works really well. And none of the cards are that expensive to buy. So then you add cards to your hand, and you draw back up to 5 cards, and then the next person goes. You do not discard your whole hand, so you can hang on to good cards and leave them for a later round. And you keep going around the table until you run out of wound cards. There's a certain amount of wound cards used, depending on how many players are in a game. Once you run out of wound cards, you count. Whoever has the fewest wounds wins. Now, if you notice, this wound here says bleed on it, and some wounds, this one says burn, and it says bite. You want to try to spread out the different kinds of wounds, because if there's a tie, whoever has the smallest number of the same type is going to win that tie. So if I have 4 bleeds and Sam has 2 bleeds, 2 burns, and 2 bites, and I have 4 bleeds and 2 bites, we both have 6 wounds, but I have 4 of one type and he only has 2 of all 3 types, he's going to win the tie. Wounds also have a special ability. When you get them in your hand at the end, you can discard them and draw 2 cards for each wound you discard. So that kind of gives you the idea of, oh, you're getting wounded, but I'm going to go down fighting, and you draw more cards. There are really powerful characters, like the big ghost here, but the characters that aren't nearly as powerful have really good special abilities. So everything balances out. And one more thing I forgot to mention is the kicker. If you play this card is blue. So if this card comes directly after a blue card, you also get the kicker. And so I found that in this game, you might get powerful characters, you might get powerful special abilities, but if you want to win, you need to learn how to get those chains working. And it's almost to the point where I think the draft is one of the most important parts of the game.
What he meant by if it follows a blue card, for example, if it follows this card, this has a blue moon as the main, then it has a purple after it, that means he can play this card, which has the purple, and it follows. That would give you the kicker, because you played this card off of a blue card.
And I like that fact. Kickers are actually not nearly as easy as you think to get pulled off.
No, not really at all.
Chains, though, are a lot more common in the game. If there's one problem that this game has, and I hesitate to say problem, it's that I don't think there's enough variety in the original set. I want to see more. I think there's a lot. It's fun in game, but I wish there was more decks, but I'm sure they'll come out in an expansion.
It has the idea that it's going to be vampires versus werewolves, but that's really kind of a misnomer, because you all have your armies of vampires and werewolves, and you're fighting against another person's army of vampires and werewolves. So it's not one faction or one side against the other. It's more like they're all mercenaries, and your army is going to go after their army. But it really does have a good theme to it. I think this is a way where the theme has been captured well. Although I do think it would be, I don't know, maybe a little cooler to have werewolves against vampires, but I don't even think that's possible.
All right, I still haven't found the vampire cape. So now I'm a vampire Viking.
Wow,
that's a good theme for a game. Okay,
Vampire Vikings.
Let's talk about this game here.
Okay.
This is one of the best deck building games I've played so far, I think. Especially if you like direct confrontation. The theme is good. It's not too dark. I thought it would be really dark. It's not as dark as I thought. But I mean, it's not silly either. The vampires, at least, are real.
Yeah.
And you're playing and fighting each other. It has a very strong, it gives me a lot of resemblance to Magic, because you're putting characters in front of you and fighting. But I love the idea that once you're done each turn, you're basically wiping the slate clean. You're not going to put out this invulnerable army and then fight and fight and fight. But the big thing is chaining. I haven't seen this chaining in many other games. It kind of reminds you almost of a combo in video game fighting. Punch, kick, and you pull that off. But the game flows quickly. And games, once you know what you're doing, we're talking 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. You just got to get rid of that pile of wounds. And they're going to go quickly. You can go for direct damage, or you can go for getting big monsters out there, or maybe a combination of the two. Like I said, my only caveat so far is that I think the first expansion's going to really flesh out the game. But for right now, it's a very good system, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, one of the things I don't think we mentioned is that the only time you take a wound is when you don't have somebody to block it. I think you may have mentioned it, but it went pretty fast. if you can block the wounds that are being sent to you, you don't actually take wound cards. They're blocked by your army. So that works out to where you're not going to be getting a whole lot of wounds if you play your cards right. Kickers, though, you must play kickers. You've got to try to work a way to get kickers in. That's one of the best ways to win the game, I think.
And you can also get rid of wound cards out of your deck. They're not impossible to get there. If you're playing for the first time, one of the things that we learned was you had this initial hand of just junk, and you want to cycle through it as fast as you can. Discard everything, keep drawing, so you get the better cards into play faster. Otherwise, the game could drag out in the beginning. The first time we played, we were like, but once the second time through, it was like, wow. You know, it all came together.
Yep, worked out well.
But it's a very much in-your-face game, and it works really well 2 players, and I think pretty well with 3 players. I was pretty happy with both those combinations.
So what did you give it?
I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. I'm there with him.
Alrighty, check it out.